Nightmare franchise.
That's pretty awesome, because first of all, I've been a fan of horror since I was little. So, and of course I was a fan of Nightmare on Elm Street. So to have the opportunity to audition, well, that's a story, because, and the way it works too is like you get an agent. So through CLA, I did theater there, of course, and got an agent and manager, because they saw, that's how agent and managers used to recruit their ingenues and whatnot. They go to plays. So my manager says, okay, I submitted you for Nightmare on Elm Street 4. I'm like, no, wait, really? Oh my God, okay. And then they said, well, they're not going to see you. Because then, 80s, I have all the makeup, platinum virgin, platinum blonde hair. I played like I look like a cheerleader. That's not Alice, okay? So, right. I was in the reject pile. So Annette Benson, who was the casting director for Nightmare 1 through 5, tells me the story that they couldn't find their Alice. They auditioned hundreds of actresses, New York and Los Angeles, couldn't find their Alice, so they went to the reject pile. There I was, so they gave me a chance, and I went in with like no makeup. I'm a trained actor, no makeup. I read the script, and wore pale yellow, my worst color, and dirty hair and all that, red. And with Tuesday, she was the first one cast who played Kristen, because she had to reprise the role of Patricia.
Right.
So she was the first one cast. I was the last one cast. Anyway, read with her. I had a call back on a Friday. I was getting married that Sunday, 150 people wedding. And I was on my honeymoon when I learned I got the role of Alice. And then they said, will you dye your hair red? And I'm like, can we put a rinse on it? And they're like, okay. Well, I may as well just dyed it, because 6 weeks of putting basically red paint on a white wall, it's totally stained my hair. Totally worth it. And that's definitely the color Alice should have, her hair. And my mom was a redhead.
Well, and the thing that struck me rewatching it is, like, now we're familiar with the universe of A Nightmare on Elm Street. That movie kicks in really quick. Both of your movies kick in really quick with the nightmares and stuff. We don't need an explanation, really. Although I'm very concerned that the people that live in this town have no idea, like, this goes on all the time. It's like something that no one wants to believe you,
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
The logic of of teen movies, and don't ever talk to the cops. Although in the parents in Nightmare on Elm Street movies are disastrous. Like your mom, was it you or Tuesday's mom?
Tuesday's mom.
Okay. That roofied her, yeah.
Yeah, roofies her.
I'm being haunted in my nightmares, Mom. Just sleep. I do want to say we've got a mic. Yeah, a mic over there if you have questions.
All the parents too, in Nightmare 5 too. Yeah. They're just all awful. But it was dealing with things we as teenagers were dealing with, and not all of us had great parents. That's for sure.
It definitely falls, you don't necessarily trust your parents with everything you're going through when you're that age, so you're just going through a little bit more when you've got Freddy Krueger after
right. You have a monster chasing you.
What was the most fun shooting on the fourth movie?
The most fun was probably the church stuff and all the fighting scenes and, all of that choreography and stuff. That was probably the most, fun and interesting. But my favorite scene in Nightmare 4 really is the scene when Dad comes home drunk, and I'm in the kitchen, and I place a salad in front of him, and he says, what am I, a rabbit? And then Alice goes into daydream mode and picks up that Pro Bowl and just, screams at him and, always taking it out on me, kind of thing. I love that scene.
Yeah, good acting scene.
Yeah, and an opportunity to show that Alice does have strength in her. That she's immobilized to show it. When
you first met Robert Englund, did you fangirl out? Because you said you were a fan of the movies.
I was so nervous the night before filming. I can't even tell you. I had to just be like, okay, Lisa, just calm down. Just don't blow. Just be professional. Okay. Oh my God, it's Robert Englund. Oh my God. Anyway, he's very personable and just a lovely, lovely man. And my nerves went out the window, so thank God.
That's good. What was the maybe the most difficult thing to shoot, whether it was physically or whatever? Was there a scene that you're like?
It was probably in the church, because they had us up on these elevated platforms, and we're circling each other and fighting and stuff like that, and that was kind of scary because you're elevated and they do have people to spot you around it and stuff, but that was kind of nerve-wracking, like I don't want to fall off the stage kind of thing.
Yeah.
But really the hardest part actually is getting that damn red dye put on my hair every morning. And it's not like you can towel dry your hair, it's wet. So they had 2 blow dryers at my head, dyeing my hair every day. So that was a drag. And then, the director will, already say, oh, we're gonna have we're on location, we're gonna have a rehearsal and stuff. And I'm like this drowned mouse with a cape on, and okay, it was very humiliating at times. Humbling, let's just put it that way. And one time, that dang red dye, anyway, don't mind, the look was great. But we're in the boiler room,
Yeah.
and it's misty and kind of rainy-ish, right? And I'm wearing that white nightgown, and Kristen has pulled me into her dream, and I'm in my little white nightgown going, what's going on? And the director calls cut because the red dye is dripping off my hair onto my white nightgown. So we had to stop filming for a moment. They had to go find a sink and wash the dye out, and then wet my hair with water, which obviously makes your hair darker anyway.
Right.
And do the scene, so yeah.
That was the first thing I thought of when you talked about the rinse. I'm like, but you're wading through water, it seems like, constantly, or there's steam from the boil. I thought there's all kinds of way for this to go.
I know, right?
South.
I know. And then in Nightmare 5, they said no dye, so my hair is kind of back to blonde. But good thing, because I have that whole shower scene.
Yeah.
I'm in could be in the water and there'd be red dye. Is she bleeding? What's going on?
Yeah.
So no dye in Nightmare 5.
That's one of the things I love about the movies is the different dreamscapes. That's so different. There was such a glut of slasher movies at that time, which a lot of them I love, but Freddy was just different because it had such an imagination. And then by the time you get to you there, you can control almost as much, or you do control as much as Freddy does. So it's a whole new, like you're almost a superhero when you go into your dream mode. And that's not a question. That's just my feeling on the movie.
It's a comment.
Again, please come up to the microphone with your questions, or shout them out if someone in here has a big question.
Okay.
Okay.
Do I have to go up there, or can I just say it out loud?
We can hear you, I think.
I'm a very loud human. If you had a way of destroying a killer in your dreamscape, do you have like a dream way to destroy a killer?
Like me personally?
Yeah, like you personally. Have you ever just be like, oh, I just want to set you on fire?
No, probably push them off a cliff.
That's a good one. Just
And
flat.
then I can just watch them.
You hear like the Looney Tunes sound in the background.
Yeah. Anybody else have a question right now?
I was wondering if you could talk about the theater scene when you get pulled into the screen. Like, what was that all?
That's really cool. That's a really cool scene. It's well done.
Yeah, that is the one that had the most. It had 14 different setups, and Mick Strawn, who was the production head of production, figured that out. And he's written this great book called Behind the Screams. But that was the most difficult scene for them to meet and figure out how are we going to do this with practical effects, And I still love, I don't know how even, but just going into the screen, it's so cool. And it still looks legit,
It
right?
does. You can't, I just watched it and I didn't see the edit. It didn't take me out of the movie. I just thought, well, that was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
Do you want to see the franchise rebooted with like digital effects, or if they give us another one, should they do it with practical effects?
Oh gosh, maybe a little bit of both.
Yeah, that's like Mandalorian. They'd use practical and digital, and the blend works really nicely.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm not opposed to digital. I love all kinds of films and stuff.
Yeah.
But it'd be nice maybe a little some practical effects too. I mean, it does take a team of brains to figure out how are we going to turn this woman into a cockroach, for instance, like, how are we doing this?
Also, who wrote that scene and what kind of prep did they do? There's such bizarre imagination going on in that movie. It's a little bit of a trip,
Yeah, it is. Yes.
Yeah. What other practical effects did you see on set that you thought were cool? The one that comes to my mind that I'm just curious about is the pizza. Because I could think of a few ways to do that, but did they just build was the pizza like a giant rubber pizza and the people were there, or did they green screen the people in later?
They did. So an actual pizza was built with the mechanical moving mouths, heads, okay? John Beagler created that, and then, but then when, like, the glove goes through my brother's head, they built a giant foam pizza so they could actually put Andros's face in it, cut out, and then the pizza background, and then a giant, claw going like that. So, yeah, variety
Of different things. The waterbed scene also stands out to me, which must have been a swimming pool with the rest of it.
underneath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah, so that poor girl had to swim. It was like this shape, right? So she has to start here, go in, then swim this way, then go up to, under the bed.
Right.
And then God knows how long that poor lady had to hold her breath. Anyway, and then swim back up, okay?
To
and
get her breath, yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I was asked once to be Michelle Pfeiffer's body double. It's a really good movie. It's like a horror movie. The water. The poster is
it's the Robert Zemeckis one. Yeah, it's What Lies Beneath. I think.
So they had asked. So a friend of mine was producing that film, and he said, would you do do this water parts for Michelle Pfeiffer? And I'm like, hell no. Not a water person.
There's a lot of water in the Nightmare on Elm Street series. A lot of famous water scenes in,
there are
these
actually.
movies. Yeah.
Interesting.
There you go. Anybody else have a question? Okay.
My name's Michelle. And,
Hi, Michelle.
Hi. Curious, everybody has props and things that they have to end in their movies. Do you have one specific one that you really wanted that you couldn't have, or?
I didn't think to ask. In general, nowadays, it's in people's contracts. I want all my wardrobe and I want all the props that I touched. Back then, I didn't even think to ask. So wardrobe did ask me if I wanted any of my wardrobe, but and I think I took the Nightmare 5 dress that's at the very end of the movie. But no, I wish I had the bomber jacket, the whole warrior outfit. That would have been really cool, but unfortunately, nope.
No, I did have one more part to it too. We had the opportunity to meet Robert Englund at Roast Beef Comic Con, and he was such a hoot. Do you have any fun stories of him telling you any of his, backstory, like, be the roommate with Mark Hamill or anything of that sort?
I mean, yeah, right. He's quite the raconteur, and he does say. I mean, and he's had so many amazing experiences. The only one that comes to mind right now that he's told me, and he's told on stage, interviews before, is that. So I want to say it was Nightmare. Yeah, it was 5. So Nightmare 5. So he got married to a woman named Nancy. And I think they met actually in Nightmare 4, right?
Life imitating art.
Yeah. So I don't know if they met on 4 or 5, but they met, and she was in production, and he would be getting that makes, I'm sure you've read, it's over 4 hours to get that makeup on. And if you have met Robert, he's a very high energy guy, and for him to sit in a chair for that long. So she would massage his hands and like just kind of keep him calm. And of course he proposed to her. So, and they're still married and they're wonderful, I love them. So he tells a story, so they got married, and they had a nice big wedding after party at this fabulous wonderful restaurant in Los Angeles and whatnot. So we have finished, wrapped night number 5, and so I'm sitting at the bar in a black cocktail dress with makeup on and smoking a cigarette, right? And they walked in, and he didn't recognize me. He didn't recognize. He's like looking at me like, did we invite this person? You know? And I'm like, it's Lisa. He's like, no. Oh my God. Because he literally says that he and Nancy said, both were like, we'd do her. And it turns out it's Lisa. And as he says, I mean, I'm running around in a plaid blouse with stonewashed jeans and like no makeup and, you know, just an out of context thing.
Yeah.
So he loves to tell that story.
Well, yeah.
And I don't mind.
It is funny, they didn't recognize you as, well, you would be wondering, like, who's this party crasher
Right.
dining on our shrimp cocktails or whatever's going on?
Yes.
Where do you think that Alice fits in the realm of, you know, the Scream Queens and the final girls?
How does she fit in?
She's kind of a different breed, just because she actually has magical powers, you know?
Yeah, well, I think for Alice to really see, I think more than any character in A Nightmare on Elm Street, is a character arc. You really do see this shy, kind of broken girl, and mom's died, dad's an alcoholic, and all that, and then you see her grow, and you kind of grow with her. And her growth is, you know, to me, a parallel of life. Like, our friends are who inspire us, or who listen to us when we have a bad day. And so with Alice's character absorbing the personalities of each of her friends that passes away, but it's like she finds the strength, you know,
Right.
and the confidence to fight. So I think she's unusual, I feel like,
Absolutely.
in a horror film in general.
Also, there's a lot more female fight scenes, and female heroes doing fight scenes now than there was then.
It was sort of the start of
There
that.
was still more a damsel in distress kind of back then.
Yeah, it was definitely tits and ass, you know.
Well, especially in horror, for sure.
There was a lot of that. So, and I don't know, to me, in many ways, I feel like the Nightmare on Elm Street series is very, like, intelligent. There's like an intelligence behind each story.
Yeah. Well, Wes Craven started it, and the Scream movies are very smart too, or especially the first one. Clever and funny, but spooky. It's my favorite. It's my favorite combination. Well, maybe speak on that whole woman power thing, how it's about, because now we have Rey from Star Wars, and like, to me, like when I was a kid, we had Princess Leia. I think I grew up with that. It didn't really faze me to see, like, later on, see a Sydney Bristow, you know, kicking ass, or like none of that. But you know, my siblings are older than me. My parents, like, so it's not what they're used to, and now it's really common. And frankly, I almost almost prefer to watch a woman kicking butt on stage than a guy. I mean, I want to be the guy, but I'd rather watch you, you know. There's nothing altruistic about what I'm saying. I just, you know.
I mean, I'm not a philosopher, I'm not anything, or, you know, but, I mean, we certainly have seen women evolve into much more power in horror films, and we're more than just our titties. And,
Where's your soundbite?
and I think it's fantastic to see. I mean, as women have come into more power, not just in horror film, but in society, and, you know, there's an evolution. So I think it's kind of cool that horror films too have taken that same course.
Yeah. You've had the opportunity to do conventions like this and meet like Heather, Langenkamp, and other members from different movies. Do you have any stories about your, I mean, did you become fast friends, or what's the story?
Well, yeah, I started doing conventions, and then Heather and Amanda, by the way, are like, we're best friends. Seriously, like I moved to Vegas recently, and Amanda's come stay with me. Heather's come stay with me. You know, we're like really tight. But it wasn't always that way because remember, I'm a fan, okay? And so Heather Langenkamp, okay. And so I remember a show in Chicago, and I've always just kind of felt like the stepchild. I'm from 4 and 5, and you know, there's Amanda and Heather, and they're really good friends, and they didn't know me yet. And I'd see them, and I felt like Alice, like looking at, you know, Dan going, "You won Major League Hunk, and I wish you'd look at me, and I wish I could be your friend." So anyway, and you know, they weren't mean to me or anything, but they just were doing their thing because they didn't convention. So I think I finally said, "Hey, would you maybe want to go to dinner tonight?" You know, and they're like, "Yeah." And Heather's like, "Oh yeah," because Heather always reads about every city she goes to and what to go see or what restaurant or whatever, right?
She's my kind of girl.
Which is great because I'm not that person. I'm like, I love staying in my room. No, I do love going out, and they're like that. So then we clicked, and then we became a fast, fun, free threesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So yeah, but I was intimidated by them.
And isn't she married to like a special effects
Yes.
guy? Yeah.
Yes, he's very successful. He's been nominated for
What would we know
Academy
his-
Awards. I don't recall.
Yeah.
I'd have to look him up.
Yeah. I was surprised when I learned that. I thought, well, that's really cool.
It is Dave Anderson.
Yeah.
David Anderson, yeah. But very successful, yeah.
I think, what do you think about the movies looking back? Like just as their place in horror history?
Well, I think they're significant. I really do. And again, the intelligence, and Wes Craven was quite brilliant, really, on how he saw horror different.
Yeah.
You know, and Wes Craven is a guy that like wore polo shirts, okay? You would not picture it. You'd not think of him as someone that like has this demented mind. Yeah, I don't know what to say on that.
Yeah, that's okay. Did you ever get to meet Wes?
No.
Met him? Well, I guess you would because you sort of described him there, but like, do you have a good Wes Craven memory?
I never met him.
Oh, you never met him?
I
I'm
never
sorry.
met him.
I have a microphone, you
He
have a
didn't
microphone, I can't hear.
He wasn't part of
Yeah.
4 or
No,
5.
I know. Well, he came up, yeah. I just didn't know if like at a convention or something, maybe. you know.
Unfortunately, no. But I know, I've heard a lot of stories from Heather and Amanda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, very
And
cool.
Robert.
Does anyone have a question? Because we could wrap this up, and I don't want anybody's question to be unanswered. Yes, Ghostbuster.
Hey, I'm just curious. Ironically, I got my start in Nightmare on Elm Street by watching year 4 and 5. Funny side story: my brother took me to it because he thought I'd like it, but I hate slasher movies. Absolutely hate it. But when I went to see 4, I'm sitting on the edge of my seat, just going, "What's gonna happen? This is great." His girlfriend reaches over, grabs my leg, like I'm gonna jump, and said, "My brother's sitting right there. Get your hands off my leg." But I was curious about some of the fight scenes. You know, was there anything that you had to learn special or something more difficult that made those hard to learn or hard to do?
Well, they sent me and Andras, who plays Rick, my brother, to a karate school. And yep, so had to learn some stuff, and it was great fun. And I had to learn some nunchuck stuff, so that, you know, because they are a deadly weapon and are illegal in, it used to be 4 states. I just looked it up last night because I brought nunchucks that I sell and sign to make sure they were legal in Washington State. They're no longer legal. Let's see, it used to be New York. It was New York, Arizona, California, of course, California, and whatever. Where was I? So yes, I had to learn some of that stuff to make
Did
sure.
you do a lot of your own stunts and wire work, anything like that?
What was that?
So you did most of your own stunts and did you do your
I
wire
did
work?
some. I did a fair amount in the church. There's all the jumping. Those were Olympiads. One day on set at the church, there's like 5 Alices walking around in the same jacket, same jeans, same, you know, like there's another Alice. There's another Alice. All these fantastic stunt doubles, Olympiads, I'm telling you. But I had done some gymnastics, so I could start the flip or the cartwheel,
Yeah.
right? And then they would cut to the wiring, of the stunt double being wired. But damn, they made me look
That's
good.
really got me. That's really got me hooked on those movies.
What?
So those are the action sequences like that.
The acrobats are, yeah, it's pretty fun. And of course, there is the one scene that has been brought up, and it bugs me the heck too, is in Alice's bedroom, and I'm standing in front of the mirror, and I start to do the nunchucks, and then you have the back shot of Alice, which is not me, the front shot is me, not here, and the gal who, phenomenal with the nunchucks, but the gal is like 4 inches taller than I am, and the most god-awful wig on that lady, oh my gosh, it was horrible, it was like a rat's head or something, I don't know. So anyway, yes, I'm knocking something in a Nightmare 4.
Yeah. I saw, this is just sort of related, but I saw an old TV show recently, and it had Darren McGavin in it, who's like the Night Stalker and the dad in the Christmas Story and stuff, and he's doing
cup was on the left and now it's on the right. What's going on here? And I was like, oh, got it,
Yeah, we went and saw a sitcom being filmed, my wife and I, and they tell you not to talk. Don't talk to anybody. And they were about to shoot the scene again, and my wife's like, that beer bottle on the pinball machine wasn't there before. And then they had to break up into a discussion, and you're like, she's right.
I just saw a continuity mistake in Misery. Like, people have asked Misery is now in my top 5 favorite horror films. It's good. But, so, okay, you're gonna watch for it, because you're maybe watch Misery sometime soon again. So, he gets out of his room. I don't know, do you guys kind of know the story? Some of you, I don't want to blow the story, but anyway, so she has this collection, this menagerie of little glass animals, and like a goat and a penguin, and this and that, and he gets out, and it's on a table, and he knocks it like with his elbow, but he manages to catch it before it falls on the ground to break, and he puts it back. And I'm like, he didn't put it back straight. This is before I catch the Easter egg. And so later on, she finds out he's been out twice, and how she can tell, and she's like, my penguin always faces due north. And he had put it back not straight. But there's another scene when they're having dinner before this one, and the camera crosses the table with the thing, and the penguin was due north, and then it changed, so they missed it. Do you see I went on so long on that story, but you kind of follow me. All right, now watch for the penguin. Keep your eye on it.
Are you the kind of person that spots that on the first viewing, or is that repeated?
I hadn't seen that film since it came out,
Yeah.
so this is the only second time I've seen it.
Yeah,
20 years ago I wouldn't have caught that.
Yeah.
But now, after years of being on set, now I catch it pretty fast.
I know that you have some feelings on, I think the Dream Child especially. Not only do we have a female hero that can kick butt and is just, her own person and all that, but it tackles subjects that, especially in the 80s, were not, outside of an after-school special or something that was trying to, teach you some moral lesson about it. There's some subject matter in there that's pretty, provocative, I guess. And parents might not, they already don't like to go into a horror movie. Now you're talking about teen pregnancy, and considering not having the teen pregnancy and all that. So
Yeah, well, Nightmare 5 in particular has so much taboo stuff in it
Yeah.
for 1989. And I think some of you come to my table, but when I talk about 5, it's literally such a brave little film. I mean, we got teenagers pregnant, sex before marriage, abortion brought up, adoption. Then we have Greta, who, her crazy mother, and wants her to be an anorexic. And
Oh, that was a great scene. Oh my gosh.
That dinner table
Yeah,
scene.
the dinner table scene is great.
Yeah, it's so theatrical and fun. So Nightmare 5 was not appreciated in '89. It's so much more
But it was a
appreciated
hit.
now.
Yeah.
4 was 5.
5 not? Oh, I thought they're both solid films. I do think 4 is more fun.
Definitely more fun.
Yeah.
Totally different tones.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nightmare 4 I still look at as like a date movie. And because it's funny, you've got a monster in Ray-Bans on the beach.
It's very, and there's like
It's
a whole
fun.
Jaws homage there. It's in the wrong hands, it could have just fallen flat, been just, oh, well, that's cheesy or what, but it's funny,
It's funny, yeah, and great music. Great music.
Yeah.
in it, so.
Well, I think you should be proud of both movies.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think they hold up, and I was like that too. I hadn't seen them in years, and so I watched them both this week, and I was like, I think I need to go back and watch all the other Nightmares now, because it's solid. Have you heard any rumblings about them ever? I know they did do another, they did do a one remake, a one-off, but is there any plans to revisit the franchise that you've heard of?
No.
Would you like to see it?
Absolutely. And what happened to, Alice and Jacob?
That's what I'm saying.
They rode off into the sunset to live happily ever after. I don't know. I heard at this show actually something about a fan-based something, and Miko. I'm going to talk to Miko about it because he's apparently involved in it. So I'm not in the know yet. So I will be by the end of this afternoon, I guess.
Like a fan film type thing? Is
Something like that.
Yeah.
So Miko's going to tell me about it.
Okay.
Is it good? Where do you see it?
It's on YouTube.
Okay. Are they like vignettes, like 5-minute, 10-minute, 20-minute, like scenes?
15 minutes, give or take.
Okay.
It's still really well done, especially what they have to work with.
Okay.
You did a really good job.
All right. All right. Yeah. No. Well, I'm gonna definitely check it out.
What's it called?
Dylan's New Nightmare.
Dylan's New Nightmare. Okay. Awesome. Everybody. I feel like a lot of you have seen it. That's fantastic.
Okay.
Final request for questions. If you've been holding back, don't lose your opportunity. Although you could probably ask at her table if she's not too busy. Depends on the line. But all right. Well,
This is
thank
fun,
you,
you guys.
Lisa Wilcox. Thank you for being here. That was great.